Hello and welcome to Ukraine Today's Press Review. I'm Rahim Rahimtullah. We begin today in the Russian-occupied Crimean Peninsula. 2 years on and no regrets. That seems to be the view of its residents. The Black Sea region was seized by Moscow from Ukraine in March 2014. The Guardian's Shaun has been there and spoken to locals. He says most are glad to have left Ukraine, even if Russia isn't delivering as much as hoped. For many, the trade blockade by Ukrainian forces and electricity blackout has only reinforced their dislike for Ukraine. Even if they are hugely disappointed by events since Crimea was taken over, they still do not regret the move. Walker says in spite of the growing disillusionment with the Kremlin-appointed authorities, criticism is muted. He writes, many of those who held pro-Ukrainian views in Crimea left after the annexation. Most of those who have remained prefer to keep quiet, as the space for expressing critical viewpoints has narrowed. Russia remains under US and EU sanctions for its annexation of Crimea. And more sanctions are being mooted, with a new report set to be issued this week into the case of Alexander Litvinenko. The late KGB agent fled to Britain in 2000. He was working with the British Secret Service before being poisoned in 2006. Litvinenko, on his deathbed, claimed Russian President Vladimir Putin had ordered his murder. Newsweek says British diplomats are advising Prime Minister David Cameron not to bring in new sanctions because of the case. Several Foreign Office diplomats are set to warn British Prime Minister David Cameron not to launch new economic sanctions against Russia when he receives a report into Alexander Litvinenko's murder. Officials have asked him to exercise restraint in the likely event that Russian state security services are implicated in the killing. For our final piece on today's press review, we zoom in more closely on Russian society. A new draft law presented by one Communist Party lawmaker is seeking to impose fines and even jail time for public displays of affection between people of the same sex. This comes in the wake of 2013's gay propaganda law. That legislation bans the promotion of what the government calls non-traditional sexual relationships. The New York Times comes out strongly against what it calls attempts to further denigrate and stigmatize gay people. In an editorial, the paper writes, "It is not clear how much support the bill has, but its consideration can serve only to stir hatred toward people who are gender non-conforming or gay." Putin has said the propaganda law protects children from being exposed to behaviors he regards as abnormal. The new bill would take that preposterous rationale one step further and criminalize an act as harmless and natural as holding hands in public. So, gay rights are once again on the agenda. That and the wider issue of human rights in Russia are themes which we will no doubt return to. But for this edition of the Press Review, that's all we have time for. Links to all the articles featured in the programme can be found on our website, uatoday.tv. Thanks for watching. Do join us again.